So, that's the worst part of it, or when you don't think your dad's proud of you, that's I knew that he was in other areas.
Sam Elliott's voice didn't just echo through generations, it branded itself into American culture. That gravelly, no-nonsense tone hits you the second you hear it, behind the mustache, the wide brim hat, and that slow, commanding Western walk. But there's something fans never saw coming. A storm he's carried in silence for decades. Through 6 decades of respect and fame, there are 6 actors he's never forgiven. Some crossed him deeply, others insulted the craft itself. And now, at 80, Sam's done staying quiet. He's naming names, and once you hear who's on his blacklist, everything changes. Let's start with the one who pushed him too far, Kevin Costner, the cowboy Sam couldn't stand. Sam built his legacy on being the real deal. Every role earned, every line honest. He didn't just play a cowboy, he lived it. Ranch dust, discipline, silence, that's where his truth was born. So, when Costner strutted into Wyatt Earp and later Yellowstone, Sam wasn't impressed, not even close. To him, Costner looked like Hollywood's idea of a cowboy. Clean boots, perfect lighting, and polished lines. Like he was posing for a magazine, not surviving the prairie. Sam once told a friend, he plays a rancher like it's dress-up, and claimed Costner was cosplaying a life he didn't truly understand. While millions praised Yellowstone, the drama, the sweeping shots, the big emotions, Sam just rolled his eyes. He didn't see the real West. He saw a shiny fantasy for people who'd never fixed a fence or smelled cattle at sunrise. To him, the whole thing looked like a polished postcard, nice to stare at, but hollow inside. Insiders even say Sam was offered a cameo and flat out refused, calling the show a soap opera with a cowboy hat. That wasn't just turning down a role, it was a bold message, a rejection of what Yellowstone had turned the West into. For Elliott, Westerns were sacred, built on grit, silence, and strength that didn't need words. Costner, in his eyes, brought flash and gloss but no soul. When they crossed paths, no one shouted that the air turned icy. One producer joked, the chill between them could freeze a desert, and that was just the start. Next came Benedict Cumberbatch, a star Sam thought was way too British for the West. In 2021, he stunned fans when he tore into the power of the dog. No filter, no smiles, just pure, rugged truth delivered like a saloon door slamming in the dark. His words landed like bullets, quick, sharp, and impossible to ignore. This wasn't just a debate about pacing or style. It got personal. Sam zeroed in on Benedict Cumberbatch with razor-edge criticism, calling out his accent, his mannerisms, and what he called a prissy take on a Western rancher. He didn't hide behind interviews or polished talk. He said it straight, loud, and unfiltered. He fired off that now famous line, "I mean, what the hell does this Brit know about the American West?" Sam didn't pull back for a second. During that podcast, he sounded furious, like he couldn't believe what Hollywood dared to label a Western. The internet exploded instantly. Social media turned into a war zone overnight, with critics calling Sam a relic from another era, a man stuck in old definitions of toughness. They accused him of guarding the genre like it was his personal territory, refusing to let new voices in. But Sam didn't flinch, not once. No apology, no PR spin, no backtracking. He stood firm, like a man who'd already made peace with his truth and wasn't moving an inch for anyone. To Sam, the power of the dog didn't just miss the spirit of the West, it disrespected it. He felt the film twisted masculinity into something fragile and overactive, stripping away the quiet strength the genre was built on. For him, it wasn't about attacking one actor, it was about defending a legacy carved from grit, discipline, and unspoken honor. Benedict Cumberbatch never fired back publicly, but insiders whispered that Sam's words hit hard. Studio execs even debated whether to release a calm response, but Benedict stayed silent, refusing to turn it into a headline war. Meanwhile, Sam stood firm, like a gunslinger who'd already taken his shot and didn't need to check if it landed. To him, the West wasn't a costume or a camera filter. It was a way of life, one shaped by truth, sweat, and respect for those who came before. No award, no British charm, no Hollywood trend was going to rewrite that. And if people didn't like the way he defended that history, Sam didn't care, not one bit. But the next name he brought up turned heads even more. Ashton Kutcher. In Sam's eyes, Kutcher wasn't just a weak actor, he embarrassed the craft itself. Acting, to Sam, was sacred, a discipline forged through patience, pain, and raw honesty. To Sam, Acting was never a popularity contest, and definitely not a shortcut to tech ventures or fame. Every role had to be earned, carved out of truth and hard work. So when Ashton Kutcher shot to fame through That 70s Show, followed by breezy rom-coms and Silicon Valley headlines, Sam wasn't impressed, he was irritated. To him, it felt like watching someone cut the line in a world where respect was meant to be earned step by step. When they were cast together in Netflix's The Ranch, Sam kept it professional. He showed up, hit his marks, and brought the same discipline he always carried. But off camera, the tension crept in. Crew members said the air felt thick, even when no one spoke. During breaks, Sam would quietly mutter, shaking his head, "He's a decent guy, but no real actor." It wasn't Ashton's personality that bothered him. It was what he represented. To Sam, Kutcher symbolized the new Hollywood, where algorithms replaced instinct, followers mattered more than experience, and charm passed for talent. To Sam, this wasn't progress, it was decline. He felt storytelling was being watered down by shortcuts and branding games. Fans saw chemistry on screen, but for Sam, it was just work, nothing deeper. Kutcher stayed polished in interviews, calling Sam a legend, even praising him as a mentor, words that only deepened the quiet divide between them. Sam never echoed Ashton's kind words behind the scenes, not once. More than a few people overheard him say, "He's acting like a guy who learned it off YouTube," and he meant it. It wasn't bitterness, it was standards, the same ones he'd protected his whole life. Sam felt the soul of the industry was slipping away, replaced by empty spectacle, fast fame, and soulless content chasing clicks instead of truth. So while The Ranch looked warm and brotherly on screen, behind the cameras there was no real bond, just tolerance, nothing more. Then came Nicolas Cage, too loud, too wild, and everything Sam couldn't stand in a performer. Sam believed real power came from stillness, from a single stare that lingered, a silence heavy enough to speak volume. Acting, to him, was built on control and depth, not shouting or flailing arms. So, when Cage exploded onto the scene with his unpredictable energy, the wild eyes, the sudden outburst, the chaos, Sam didn't see brilliance, he saw disorder. To him, Cage wasn't becoming a character, he was performing himself, drowning out everyone else around him. Even when they shared the screen in Ghost Rider, Sam stayed distant, polite, professional, but ice cold beneath the surface. Sam stayed professional, always, but warm, not even close. In interviews, he danced around certain names, but his words had an edge sharp enough to draw blood. He talked about actors who stole the spotlight, turning every scene into their personal circus with louder, flashier, and bigger moves than anyone asked for. His friends didn't need him to say the name, they knew he meant Nicolas Cage. Sam once told a close friend, "He's more firework than flame. Big bang, no heat." That line said everything. While Cage built a loyal fan base off wild, unpredictable performances, Sam stayed true to what he called the real craft, slow, grounded, and honest. The kind that pulls the audience in, not blows them back. To Sam, Cage represented something dangerous, a growing obsession in modern film with shock over story, style over substance. Sure, critics showered Cage with praise in awards, calling him brilliantly unhinged, but Sam didn't buy it for a second. No golden trophy could polish what he saw as empty theatrics. Real acting, in his eyes, came from stillness, truth, and emotional control, not chaos and noise. And while he'd clashed with plenty of actors, the next name, that one hit him in a place deeper than anger. It came from someone he once truly cared about. Jeff Bridges, the friend who drifted away. Sam and Jeff were once seen as two men cut from the same rugged cloth, grounded, weathered, and powerful, without ever needing to shout. Their strength lived in silence, in looks that carried more weight than words. When they teamed up for the cult classic The Big Lebowski, their chemistry was effortless, not just on camera, but off it too. They shared long talks, deep laughs, and a friendship built on mutual respect and pure love for storytelling. But somewhere along the line, something changed. Not fast or dramatic, slow, quiet, like a rope slowly fraying apart. After Jeff won his Oscar for Crazy Heart, Sam started noticing shift. The humble man he once knew began showing up in glossy photo shoots, designer suits, and polished interviews that felt more like campaigns than conversation. One insider put it bluntly, Jeff became harder to reach, harder to recognize. To Sam, it felt like the raw truth that once defined Jeff had been traded for Hollywood shine. The simple code they once shared, letting the work speak louder than the fame, started slipping away, buried under layers of image and celebrity glow. In one rare interview, when Sam was asked about people he'd worked with, he didn't say Jeff's name, but he didn't have to. He just muttered a short, cutting line. Some folks change, 3 words that landed harder than a punch. Then he added, others just show who they always were, and everyone knew exactly who he meant. Many took it as a clear message aimed straight at Jeff Bridges. Jeff, as usual, stayed calm. No drama, no response. But their silence spoke louder than any argument ever could. They stopped showing up at the same events, stopped lifting each other up, and the brotherhood that once looked unbreakable quietly disappeared. For Sam, it wasn't about ego or competition. It was personal. The hurt came from watching a bond built on respect slowly fade away. Their friendship had been rooted in real values, not red carpets or headlines. When that connection cracked, it left something heavy in Sam's chest. Not anger, but ache. A few close friends said Sam never felt betrayed, just left behind. Like the man he once stood shoulder to shoulder with had crossed into another world, one he couldn't follow. That kind of distance doesn't explode, it lingers. And Sam carried that silence like a scar no one could see. But even that quiet heartbreak didn't prepare Sam for the last name on his list, the one he never thought he'd call out. Jared Leto, the method gone mad actor, who tested Sam's patience like no one else ever had. Sam's biggest irritation was always pretension. Not confidence, not passion, but that loud look-at-me attitude that turns acting into a sideshow instead of something real for the audience. So when Leto started making headlines for his extreme method tactics, sending rats to co-stars, staying in character for weeks, and turning film sets into emotional obstacle courses, Sam didn't see genius. He saw a gimmick. He wasn't impressed by the awards or the viral stories. To him, it all screamed performance for attention, not for art. Sam once slammed that style as theatrics pretending to be talent, and he didn't whisper it, he said it straight. He even told a friend, if he needs that much effort to act, maybe he's in the wrong profession, and he meant it. To Elliott, great acting didn't need chaos, headlines, or circus tricks, just truth, discipline, and heart. To Sam, acting needed precision, humility, and the ability to disappear into the role, without bragging about how hard you vanished. It wasn't supposed to feel like a commercial. It was meant to feel real, human, raw, and honest. Sam and Jared Leto never worked together, but insiders say Sam was once attached to a film early in development. He loved the script, respected the director, everything felt right. Then he heard Leto had joined the cast, and Sam quietly walked away. No press, no fuss, just silence, and that silence said everything. That was his line in the sand. Acting, for Sam, was never meant to be a circus of egos. It was supposed to be grounded, sincere, and alive with genuine emotion. Hearing that last name only reminded him how far Hollywood had drifted from the values he spent a lifetime protecting. At 80 years old, Sam Elliott isn't fighting for fame. He's fighting for truth, for the honesty, grit, and restraint that once defined the craft. And if standing for that means standing alone, he'll do it proudly. Because in a world drowning in noise, Sam Elliott still walks tall, as the last real cowboy. Which of these feuds shocked you the most? Was Sam too harsh, or just saying what everyone else was afraid to? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.